Chairman Nadler talked about treacherous. At about 12:10 a.m., on January 22nd, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee at this body, on the floor of this Senate, said executive privilege and other nonsense. Now think about that for a moment. Executive privilege and other nonsense. Mr. Nadler, it is not nonsense. These are privileges recognized by the Supreme Court of the United States. And to shred the Constitution on the floor of the Senate, to serve what purpose? The Senate is not on trial. The Constitution doesn't allow what just took place. Look what we've dealt with for the last now 13 hours. And we hopefully are closing the proceedings, but not on a very high note. Only guilty people try to hide evidence. So I guess when President Obama instructed his Attorney General to not give information, he was guilty of a crime. That's the way it works, Mr. Nadler? Is that the way you view the United States Constitution? Because that's not the way it was written. That is not the way it's interpreted. And that's not the way the American people should have to live. I'll tell you what's treacherous. Come to the floor of the Senate and say executive privilege and other nonsense. We yield the rest of our time.
The managers have 27 minutes remaining.
Mr. Chief Justice, members of the Senate, the President's counsel has no standing to talk about lying. He told his body today, the President has told his body and told the American people repeatedly, for example, that the House of Representatives refused to allow the President due process. I told you, and it's available, public document, November 26th letter from me as Chairman of the Judiciary Committee to the President, offering him due process, offering witnesses, offering cross-examination. A few days later, we received a letter from Mr. Sekulow on White House stationery that said, no, we have no interest in appearing. So on the one hand, they're lying because the House is condemned by the President for not giving him due process after they rejected the offer of due process. That letter rejecting it was December 1st. The President's counsel says that the House should have issued subpoenas. We did issue subpoenas. The President, you may recall, you should recall, said he would oppose all subpoenas, and he did. So many of those subpoenas are still being fought in court. Subpoenas issued last April. So that's also untrue. And it's a heck of a nerve to criticize the House for not issuing subpoenas when the President said he would oppose all subpoenas, and we've issued a lot of subpoenas, and he opposes all of them, and they're tied up in court. The President claims, and most members of this body know better, executive privilege, which is a limited privilege, which exists, but not as a shield, not as a shield against wrongdoing, as the Supreme Court specifically said in the Nixon case in 1974. The President claims absolute immunity. Mr. Sekulow wrote some of those letters, saying that the President, not only saying that the President, but that nobody that he doesn't want should testify. And then they have the nerve, and that is a violation of the constitutional rights of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and of the American people as represented through them. It's an assertion of a kingly prerogative, a monarchical prerogative. Only the President has rights, and the people as represented in Congress cannot get information from the executive branch at all. This body has committees. It has a 200-year record of issuing subpoenas, of having the administration of the day testify, of sometimes having subpoena fights, but no president has ever claimed the right to stonewall Congress on everything, period. Congress has no right to get information. The American people have no right to get information. That, in fact, is Article 2 of the impeachment that we have voted. It is beyond belief that the president claims monarchical powers. I can do whatever I want under Article 2, says he, and then acts on that. Defies everything. Defies the law to withhold aid from Ukraine. Defies the law in a dozen different directions all the time. And lies about it all the time. And says to Mrs. Sekulow here to lie about it. These facts are undeniable. Undeniable.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.